Hello and welcome back to the Join Dota League Season 3 here on HeflaTV 2. This is going to be Game 2 of our Best of 2 series between First Departure and Invasion Esports, and as for your casters, I'm Grandis V, and once again, I'll be joined by Mike Loris.
That was a pretty nice game from First Departure. It looked a little bit rough around the edges in the middle stage of that game, but hell, they put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Ultimately, Invasion, because Mikasa as well as Trinkets were so important to Doom, they put so much pressure on the Doom to perform that the Doom was either going to get his Doom off and pretty much win, or not get his ultimate off and then lose the game. And at that point, it's just a coin flip. And Invasion, they're going to go with the Doom. I think it's a nice first pick, and there's no reason to not go for it. It did its job more or less last game. But First Departure, they were so reliant on their ultimates, and it looks like this game they're going to pick up the Venomancer once again. Again, if it's not broken, then don't fix it.
I suppose not. They won't have the Miracle Faces Void to fall back on this game. And, well, honestly, it just seems that he really knows that hero well, but we're going to see a scary amount of magical damage coming out from First Departure with their first two picks of Venomancer and Ancient Apparition. If both of these heroes get their Aghanim Scepters, it can pretty much just wipe a team between the two of them. And it also makes the Venomancer ultimate fatal, as with the Shatter effect from the Ancient Apparition ultimate. But either way, Invasion Esports, they have a really solid team fighting lineup of their own. Doom and Tidehunter, a lot of ways to control and change the pace of the team fights. Although Venomancer and Ancient Apparition are pretty difficult to get the Dooms off onto, and even if you do, more often than not, they'll get their ultimates off beforehand. Either way, First Departure, fairly lockdown light with these two picks, and I'm hoping that that's a core Venomancer because of it. But either way, still a solid start for them, although a deviation from what we saw last game.
Yeah, and it's a pretty nice start because it's two heroes that, though they are seen occasionally, are never ever seen in the first two pick slots. So First Departure, they're clearly up to something. And right now, the only real similarities between these two heroes is the fact that their ultimates are huge dots. And if they get those dots to actually stick, then they will be able to do a whole bunch of work to Invasion. But versus Tidehunter and Doom, rather tanky heroes, those dots are going to have to be very highly leveled up if First Departure actually want to get anything done with these two heroes. Aside from these two heroes, I mean, aside from that small similarity between the two, I don't really know where they're going to be going with this one. They could always go for something weird, and that will be game-changing, like the Warlock was last game. It's hard to predict, impossible to predict, in fact, and it just changes the entire game. So they might want to be running something like that. Ancient Apparition does have a global, which could be a route where they want to go for, but First Departure, they clearly don't play by the rules, so they are very unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm definitely okay with this. I'm interested to see where they do take this draft, but then again, they could take it in a lot of different directions. They're lacking a lot of lockdown with these two heroes, and it's kind of hard to fill the shoes with core heroes. For the lockdown department, I think we might be seeing a Centaur again this game. Would give them a solid way to initiate, although it's not as big of an AoE as Tidehunter. You can still find at least one or two heroes pretty reliably with the Blink Hoof Stomp coming out from the Centaur, as well as just getting everybody in position with the Stampede would be pretty solid. Brewmaster the Band and First Departure, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Centaur, but then again, I'm kind of hoping to be surprised. It's going to be a Night Stalker. Ooh, this is like the epitome of early aggression coming out from First Departure.
I love it. This game is going to be so different from all those boring meta games that we've been having for the past month, 2 months, what have you. So, Night Stalker, wow, a hero that we haven't seen in quite a long time. It's a hero that is crippled by the fact that he is pretty much built around a cycle, and that really does hurt him because he needs a good hero should be able to fight more or less at the drop of the hat, and Night Stalker, if it's daytime, can be pretty useless. Early on, he will pretty much have the run of the game, as he will be able to roam around the map and gank very aggressively. Though again, against Doom as well as Tidehunter, he will take a lot of time to kill these two heroes off, and Tidehunter, I don't even know if that's a viable kill because of Anchor Smash, so Tidehunter is a pretty nice counter to Night Stalker, at least a nice defensive counter. In Invasion, they're going to go for Rubik. Our First Departure are going to keep going with his aggression. Yes, they are. Nature's Prophet, I expect, should be going for a very aggressive build and helping the Night Stalker gank as early as possible.
Yeah, Tree and Protector, the response from Invasion Esports, a very quick one, in fact. Yeah, it's going to be more or less useless on their heroes once the dots come up for Venomancer as well as Ancient Apparition, as those will rip through the living armor very quickly. Although, early on, it's going to be useful up against the Night Stalker, and if the Nature's Prophet is TPing in, it could be the determining factor of keeping these heroes alive, especially the tanky ones of Tidehunter and Doom. Tree and Protector, he's going to be more useful than we usually see trees be this game, as First Departure have very little push, and the push that they do have is in the Nature's Prophet. Nature's Prophet relies fairly heavily on little bits of chip damage that he's able to do, and Tree and Protector is going to negate that. Although I'm usually not a huge fan of the Tree and Protector, at least in this game it's going to work a lot better than what we usually see.
This is going to put 3 melee heroes on the invasion side, so they have to pick up a range hero, else they really suffer in the later stage. At First Departure, pick up, what's another hero, Clockwork or something, or Darkseer. Just heroes that overall punish melee heroes, then it can be very bad for invasion moving forward. But right now, Sand King as well as DK going to get the boot as First Departure. I think they just really want to build around this Night Stalker. They want to put this Night Stalker into a farming position, get him off to a great start, and then have the entire team rally behind him, and then go where he goes and kill who he kills, and try to get an advantage that way. Tree and Protector would have been great for First Departure to pick up, which is just to protect the Night Stalker and give him that additional kick of survivability in order to dive that tower. Unfortunately, it's not going to be available to them, and outside of the Night Stalker play, they can go for a good amount of pushing, which is a good way to go as a backup plan, I guess. Have the Night Stalker run interference while Nature's Prophet, Venomancer, and then a last pushing hero are going to be taking down towers in the meantime. So I wouldn't mind either strategy for First Departure. I would love to see another crazy aggressive or crazy weird hero, though.
I think Puck would be pretty solid here if that is going to be a safe lane Night Stalker, but then again, if they're going mid, we might be seeing just another tempo controlling support. Earthshaker is still available, and I think that would offer them quite a bit, although it can be disruptive if your fissures aren't on point. I would expect First Departure to be pretty comfortable with running that hero, and it would offer them some much needed stuns. Wraith King could also be solid, and if they really want to just go very aggressively, it could be a Venge, but instead they go for the Witch Doctor. It's going to offer them some more sustain, and I suppose if it's not broken, don't fix it. They don't have any big AoE ultimates to lock people in place. The last pick for Invasion is going to be a Shadow Fiend.
That's mighty bold, picking up a Shadow Fiend into a Night Stalker. They were very damaged light invasion, like with their supports being Treant and Rubik. They don't actually have much burst damage coming out from these two heroes. And Doom Tidehunter, their damage is okay later on, but early it will be rather unimpressive. So Shadow Fiend is going to give Invasion a little bit of a late game kick of damage, which is going to be very useful for them. However, he's pretty much going to be the target for Night Stalker 100% of the time. The Night Stalker will have to go through a lot of things to get to the Shadow Fiend, though, and telekinesis and the living armor, level death, stuff like that. So Shadow Fiend's not going to have the best game in this particular scenario, but he does have a lot of protection. And First Departure, with their last pick, it is going to be an extremely aggressive lineup for them. So the question is, can Invasion survive throughout this initial aggression coming out from FD? And if they can, then they should be fine, because Shadow Fiend late game should have this game pretty much on lockdown. But if they can't, if Shadow Fiend doesn't get off to a good start, then I can see this Night Stalker running away with this game.
Definitely, and well, to introduce our teams, we are going to have Invasion on the Radiant side with Ghost handling the Tidehunter. Looks like he's just going to be soloing the off lane, kind of as expected. ADTR is going to be playing on the support Tree and Protector. The other support is going to be Rubik, played by OK. And, well, our safe lane farmer is going to be FZ on the Doom, and mid is going to be a Shadow Fiend, handled by Kisik Imba.
And on the First Departure side, we got Mikasa, aka Miracle, going to be playing the Nature's Prophet, and he does go for 3 circlets to open up. I think he's going to go for that Null Talisman build because he wants to be teleporting super aggressively and trying to get kills early on. So I like this build in this scenario. So I think that's pretty nice. Trinket's going to be playing the Night Stalker, as Kai is going to be supporting as the Witch Doctor. KS is going to be taking up the core Venomancer role. I think he might be heading towards the mid lane right now versus that Shadow Fiend. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Last hero who's currently not in is Lubby, who's going to be playing the Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, but that mid-Venomancer, it's a matchup that I wasn't expecting. I was kind of half expecting the Night Stalker to be in that mid position. Safe lane farming Night Stalker, usually that first night isn't very important for him. It's the second night where he actually comes online. The first night's more or less just going to be used to farm up inside his isolated lane, and maybe if they can line up all of their spells in the Tidehunter, they might be able to get a kill. But I think this is sacrificing quite a bit of the Night Stalker's ability to do stuff in the laning phases. Tidehunter should have a pretty free lane here. As Ancient Apparition and Witch Doctor, they can zone him out with Chilling Touch, and that's nice and all. But the Tidehunter can still play pretty aggressively, as long as he's not too low from that.
And also this Venomancer versus Shadow Fiend matchup means that Venomancer probably isn't going to go for many points in the Plague Wards, because those do give souls to the Shadow Fiend. So it's a really awkward interaction there. I mean, going for Poison Sting as priority is probably what the Venomancer wants to go for, but is he going to get Gale afterwards, or is he just going to say, screw it, I'm going to have Plague Wards and try to pressure your tower, even though it will feed you an unlimited stream of souls?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have expected the Venomancer to be in the place of the Night Stalker this game. We'll have to see how it's going to work out for them. He'll be able to put a little bit more pressure early on onto this Shadow Fiend. With the Poison Sting, as aforementioned, it's going to be annoying and give some harass to the Shadow Fiend, but then again, if we are going to see the standard build from the Venomancer, those Plague Wards are going to be more or less useless, as Shadow Fiend, unless they're maxed out, is still going to be 1 or 2 shotting them, and yeah, it's not really going to work out for them. The Treant is going to scout the first rune as they try to clip the Ancient Apparition, but they pull him back in the Gush from Ghost. They might have enough right clicks here. The cask is only going to bounce to Witch Doctor, or Rubik, excuse me, 1 time. They still need 2 auto attacks on the Lobby, and the body block coming out from Kai is going to be enough to save Lobby, I think, but Kai's now caught between 2 enemy heroes, and will they actually be able to chase down Lobby? He's too slow. The right click 1 from the Tidehunter. The Gale comes through, lands onto 2, or maybe just 1. Ghost is now caught in a very awkward situation. So with the Chilling Touch, I think Ghost is just dead. The Leech Seed is going to help a little bit. Kai, he throws the cask. It's not going to bounce the Ghost 1 more time, but KS does pick up the kill on our Tidehunter at a very awkward level 1 engagement. OK's still sticking around, looking for this Ancient Apparition. He needs a little bit more, and he might just be giving up his life for this one. He pulls back KS behind him, but still very slow, and now gets tagged by the second Gale in this engagement. I think OK is just straight up dead here, as KS should have enough damage, although he's missing his block for this one. If he can pick up 2 kills, it's going to be very useful for him. He needs 1 more, the Gale's wearing off, and he's not going to be able to get in range. 285 is not going to cut it with the Rubik having boots first. So KS... giving the first wave to the Shadow Fiend, who now has 6 souls. This lane's going to be pretty easy for him now.
Yeah, the Venomancer does get the first blood, and with the Gale and Poison Sting, he can feasibly get solo kills on the Shadow Fiend, but Shadow Fiend could just turn around and put a lot of hurt back the way of the Venomancer. Invasion, really in that scenario, they suffered from, again, their lack of damage. Tidehunter can do okay, but level 1 he only has mana for 1 Gush, and Rubik, Treant, if Treant does get close and he's able to punch people, then he can do a lot of damage, but if that's not the case, then really Invasion, they don't have many heroes that actually hurt at all. So that kind of showed there as Ancient Apparition did get out of there, and he did turn around with the Chilling Touch, which was instrumental in getting the first blood, but still, I don't know if that's necessarily worth it, because the Shadow Fiend, as you said, did get this nice start. He has all the souls that he could possibly want at this stage, and now KS is going to be at a very large damage disadvantage in this mid lane, so this Venomancer is probably not going to be easily recoverable.
Yeah, he's going to harass the Shadow Fiend quite a bit with the Orb of Venom also on his person. I like this pickup, although it's not going to do that much. The 275 gold definitely warrants what it is giving you, and just the extra wrath, but it's not going to be enough. Yasikimba is going to walk into a hasted Witch Doctor potentially, but he's got to back off. Yeah, this is pretty much the ideal start for Shadow Fiend. He is currently at 9 and 10. And, well, as a Shadow Fiend, you're kind of expecting that start to be pretty slow, but this game, it's anything but, as KS is being dominated in this lane. I don't really see it changing much for him.
Well, the Witch Doctor's still around in this area, however, completely spotted out by an Observer Ward, so he actually placed a Sentry Ward of his own, which was unfortunately just a little bit out of range of the Observer Ward that the Radiant had, but Mikasa's going to teleport in. They're going to go for the Shadow Fiend, double raise onto KS, needs 2 more hits to kill him off, but he won't get that happen. Now Mikasa dealing some pretty nice damage onto Keswick. They will be able to bring down the Shadow Fiend, however, lift up onto Mikasa, and he looks like he will be tanking the tower and shots, and he will go down, albeit barely. Okay, looks like he will slip away this time, as Venomancer also does get away. It's a Nature's Prophet kill for the Shadow Fiend, and I think Nature's Prophet should be okay with that, as he is going to buy up a whole bunch of Null Talismans afterwards, and really delaying the Shadow Fiend for as much as possible, denying him souls, is going to be pretty important.
Yeah, that's going to help the Venomancer a lot. Still, it's not going to be a 1 lane by any means, but it's going to be damage control, and Venomancer denies himself to Roshan. Since he's so low level, at only level 3, it's not going to be a long timer, and I think that's a wise move coming out from him. I'd like to see more people to it. But this top lane is actually going better for the Night Stalker than I had anticipated, since he's more or less been left alone versus this Tidehunter. Night Stalker's actually doing very well. He has innately high base damage, but if the Anchor Smash comes onto him, it's not going to help him that much, but 18-4 on trinkets, and, well, you compare that to the Tidehunter's 7-1. Tidehunter's not slouching by any means, but it's not great, as Nature's Prophet TP's in, he summons Treants, and they might be going on this Tide with the Void, as well as the Icy Vortex. I think Ghost is just dead. The Body Box coming out from the Treants, beautifully. He'll get the Anchor Smash, but the Chilling Touch should be enough damage. Living Armor is only going to delay things for now, and Mikasa, he's not going to die to the tower, as the tower aggro is switched to the Night Stalker. So despite Mikasa dropping very low, another kill going the way of First Departure.
As a very surprising kill, because it is Nature's Prophet setting up for kills, and that's very rarely seen. in that Nature's Prophet usually waits for his allies to start something and then he teleports in. But with this build that Miracle is going for, he is playing it pretty much as perfectly as you could possibly ask. You want to be super aggressive when you're getting Mass Null Talismans, and that's exactly what he's playing. Also, that fight happened right before the first nighttime phase, so the Tidehunter was caught by surprise because you really never expect that. And now, Trinkets, he's fast because of this nighttime phase. He's going to chase down OK. Kai kind of getting in his way, so he's going to move off to the side and let the Night Stalker close in. Rubik's going to get hit with one Void, and I think this should just be the death of Rubik. Looking for a deny to the Ancients. Might find it, won't find it. Meantime, top lane Lubby is going to be the trade, but Night Stalker getting his first kill of the night, and now he's going to look for more as Keswick very, very, very weak. And now he's going to die. The Shadow Fiend going to go down. KS was dropped pretty low. Looks like he was dueling with the Shadow Fiend for a little bit. But Trinket's going to rotate out of the top lane, get 2 fast kills. And it's a pretty nice start for the Night Stalker. Usually this first night, as you said, is rather passive. It's just for farming. But hell, if you have this start in the first night, he's even going to extend it with level 1 Darkness, which is very rarely picked up at level 6. He's looking to be super aggressive with the rest of his team. I like how First Departure are playing this because they've drafted this lineup, which is supposed to be aggressive, and they're playing it as such. They're not sitting back, and you just gotta love when a team does that.
Absolutely. Nature's Prophet now down in bottom. He has enough money to finish up his last null talisman, but at this point in the game, he's hitting pretty darn hard. Yeah, at 86, and once he finishes up the next null, almost 90 a pop. It's enough, and he'll be able to trade pretty effectively with the supports, especially if he does go for the Blade Mail. But for now, they are potentially going to find him out as OKs in the vicinity. But Night Stalker is going to be the one that bumps into him first, the Void, and now he's just getting run down. He lifts up Trinkets, and he'll delay things for now, but the Nature's Prophet ultimate bounces through. Living Armor is not going to save OK, as there's just too much right-click damage. The Sprout's going to delay things, unfortunately, for Trinkets. He actually finds an angle for the Void, and, well, there you go. I might like to see potentially a Quelling Blade coming up from the Night Stalker so that things like that don't happen, and he can be inside the trees with the target, but still 3 to 6. First Departure finding a lot of kills around the map, despite not farming very well. It's because of all these rotations. Shadow Fiend is, if he didn't die twice, winning his mid matchup, but he has died twice, and so he's even in net worth compared to the Venomancer, despite not last hitting as well, and I'm not sure that's going to change. Invis Night Stalker sitting behind FZFC, and now they just go for it. Under the tower, they're going to throw the Void. Scorched Earth probably not going to save you here, despite, oh, beautiful Sprout, going to bounce him back in. There is going to be a stun onto the Night Stalker, but now with the cast going his way, he's going to try to man fight. Trinkets is still going to be able to get that kill very easily. Mikasa now on a killing spree, and a tier 1 tower probably soon to fall after. This Ancient Apparition's been left pretty much solo up top, which is actually pretty good for First Departure. It allows the Night Stalker to roam around and get kills like he's doing, and he's doing a wonderful job at that. But it's also going to give Ancient Apparition a lot earlier of a level 6 than we usually see. Only half a level till he gets that up.
First Departure are playing this lineup to perfection. Night Stalker now going to smoke up with Kai and look for even more blood. He shouldn't be stopping. He will never stop, I don't think, until the day actually breaks. By that time, he will have, I would say, probably one more kill at the very least, as he might run into Keswick once again. And Night Stalker run to the south, the smoke will break, and Shadow Fiend not exactly healthy. He's going to be run down, however, trying to juke into the trees. Night Stalker is faster than you are, and you are going to be run down no matter what. There's the Void, and well, the rest of Invasion actually going to converge into Trinkets. This is all 5 heroes with the Ravage deployed. It was a trap, as Kai, also getting stunned by that one, is going to buy up using the rest of his gold. He's definitely going to go down, but he's going to waste as much time as he possibly can. First Departure, they run into a little bit of a roadblock, but they do force out movement from literally every single Invasion hero in order to stop that Night Stalker. They did stop him, but he wasn't on a kill streak because he actually wasn't the one getting all the kills. So ultimately, though it was bad for First Departure, it could have been a lot worse since they forced out all those TPs, and Mikasa already took that tier 1 tower down bot. Lubby is at level 6. This is exactly where First Departure want to be at this point in the game.
Yeah, more or less. Shadow Fiend does pick up his Midas, but honestly, I don't like this Midas pickup for Shadow Fiend. He needs like a BKB. Power Treads, he needs to tank up. I would have liked to see Power Treads and Ogre Club instead of this Midas pickup. I think this is probably just going to kill the Shadow Fiend. If they're able to turtle out long enough to where that's going to be relevant, and they're able to get items on top of it, it's going to be wonderful for him. As the Nature's Prophet's getting dropped down bottom, Doom comes through, but with the Food of Restoration, he's actually going to survive, and they don't commit anything else. And up top, they're going to find themselves Ghost. He's going to be slowed down. Mikasa jumps in, but he's very low, but the Chilling Touch, as well as the Sprout, I think Ghost is going to die. He's able to munch through with the Tango. It's not going to save him, and Mikasa playing this wonderfully. He's going to find himself closer to his blade mail as well. These rotations I wasn't expecting to happen as frequently during the day, but it's just not stopping for first departure, which is wonderful to see. Night Stalker currently sitting on 1200 gold. I'm not sure what build we're going to look for from this Night Stalker. I'd love to see just an armlet to give them that extra bit of damage, despite not having a Vlad's. Mikasa going to deny himself to neutrals. Yet again, it's going to be a longer timer than you usually want to have happen. I think he could have walked back to base and been a little bit more efficient about it, but again, it's not going to lose them anything.
I think Trinket's item build could be an armlet, as you said before. Would love to see that. Also, wouldn't mind seeing something along the lines of an urn, since the aggression is going to pretty much continue, and I don't think anyone else from FD have an urn just yet. So having that for the sustain for the Night Stalker means that he could constantly dive towers and go into the likes of Tidehunter and Doom. And even though he knows that he probably will get the kill eventually, though at the cost of a lot of his life, he'll be able to recover a lot of that HP back. This Night Stalker is absolutely terrifying. Even though it is daytime, still a level 4 Void is going to do 335 damage, which is relatively high as far as nukes go. Mikasa, once again, going to teleport very deeply into the enemy side of the jungle. And he's going to be there to support Chaos because he's desperately going to need it. Leech Seed is there and the damage is going to be done. But here comes a nice Ancient Apparition ultimate. Going to land onto 3. And now Mikasa coming from the side. Will 2-shot. Okay, he's going to try to go for Kessa. He will land both of them actually. Going to kill off the Shadow Fiend as well as the Tree. And Mikasa going to slow down by the Gush. Ghost on the front lines. Will land a 3-man Ravage. And here comes the Doom. Will try to go for Kai. However, the Voodoo Restoration is already available. It's not going to be enough to save him. That's 3 down in exchange for 2. Lubby going to get slowed down with the Gush. And Doom thinking about charging forward for this one. Night Stalker still farming up on top. Really, Invasion have to make as much as they possibly can happen in the daytime, because if it's nighttime, then Night Stalker is going to come in and crash this party. And if the Night Stalker was there, that fight wouldn't have gone their way.
Yeah, well, Gale going to tag the Tidehunter now. Ancient Apparition Blast going to land through as well. They don't have the damage or a way to cancel out TP. He's going to barely survive. No, die inside the base. The tick damage is enough. I forgot about the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast. I'm not sure why. Yeah, no way that he's actually surviving through that. Night Stalker's item choice this game is going to be none of the aforementioned items. It's instead going to be an Aghanim Scepter Rush for him. Not the biggest fan of this. I think either just sustain with the urn or damage from the armlet is probably a little bit better with the way that they're playing. It's not going to help him play as aggressively as I'd like to see him play, although it's going to be very useful for mind games. I don't think you get Aghanim Scepter first on Night Stalker, but then again, I don't see very much Night Stalker, so maybe he's going to surprise me.
Aghanim's 9 times out of 10 is picked up as the second big item. Like, after you pick up the urn or the armlet or both, then you go for Aghanim Scepter, because having that map hack vision during the nighttime phase is not something that you can underestimate. But going for it first, I don't know if that's actually what he wants to be doing. I mean, obviously he'll have the Void, and with this item build, he'll be pretty reliant on the allies' Arcane Boots in order to keep him full up on and the Voodoo Restoration to keep him full out on health. So without those allies there, he will really heavily struggle in this game, because he is going for a regeneration-less build. Regardless, they're still sitting in a pretty good position, so if he does get this item up pretty quickly, then he could set up for many kills, especially with Miracle. Mikasa can teleport in, knowing that there is going to be pretty much complete unobstructed sight from this Night Stalker, and then they could use that to their advantage and continue to play super aggressively, as they are continuously sieging the tier 1 mid tower. Nighttime is just about to break, and Trinkets is going to go back to the base and fuel up for this nighttime phase. The first nighttime went so very well for him, died once, but got ultimately, I believe, 5 kills for his team. So let's see how well this is going to go, as he is going to, for now, looks like he's going to go down towards the mid lane, and he's going to instantly pop off the smoke as well as his own darkness. It's going to be going down the mid lane for him, where KS and Kai are trying to look tasty to try to force someone from Invasion to rotate in, and looks like they will catch ADTR in this trap.
Well, let's see, ADTR is invis up. They don't have sentries on the ground, with the exception of one closer to the river, but if he walks over there anyway, he's going to be dropped from his side. He does have the overgrowth, and now his invis is going to wear out. They have vision of ADTR, or maybe they caught it, or then again, maybe he was inside the tree as Night Stalker, instead going up towards top. He's still smoked up, he doesn't find anybody, as the TPs away from Invasion are going to keep them safe, and this Night Stalker's first rotation of the night is not working out for him, although there's still plenty of nighttime for him to do stuff.
Yeah, the nighttime pretty much just started because he did use that darkness. It's going to be gone, though, for a very long time. His ultimate level 1 darkness cooldown is pretty outrageous in 180 seconds. So it's a little bit less, since you get effectively 25 seconds extended for that. But still, it looks like they will use this Night Stalker's power in order to push a tier 1 tower. But Invasion, their hand is being forced right now. They're going to move up to the top lane, where they have a Ravage as well as a Doom and an Overgrowth. This could go very poorly for FD if they get caught by this Ravage. Ghost is in place now, and Trinkets, he's still on the front lines, feels pretty comfortable about the fact that he's so tanky, and he should, but he's is unaware of the fact Ghost is right next to him. There's Ravage onto 2. Teleportation coming in from the Rubik, and Trinket's gonna get hit with a Doom. He's gonna get a lot of damage onto him, and he will go down first. Mikasa can teleport in, and now the Death Ward being channeled. They're gonna turn this one around. They're gonna catch Ghost in the Sprout. He will eat his way out, but at what cost? He will survive, actually. It's only a 1-for-1 trade in the end, as the Venomancer does take the tower. First departure, they're gonna lose their Night Stalker at the start of the night. It's never what you really want to have happen, but if they take this tower after this, then they could be fine, because there is no Ravage from the Tide, so they could keep going, especially with Venomancer wrapping around from the side. Has a level 2 ultimate, and now Ghost gonna get stunned up in the Sprout as well. Ultimate's gonna be thrown from the AA. Will not hit onto anyone, but KS does get his ultimate off, and Ghost probably gonna tick down from that. FCFC also getting focused down as Mikasa does do the damage. ADTR invisible, still taking poison damage, though he should be fine. Looks like the Tide was able to survive that. And now ADTR, he will get clipped by a Gale again. And he's going to go down. Double kill for KS. They also take the tower. Now Night Stalker in the mid lane. Going to try to go for the Shadow Fiend, though a TP out will save him. FG, they're turning up the heat in this second nighttime phase.
They are. The dot damage from the Venomancer is actually ridiculous. His build is pretty non-committal towards Plague Wards as well as the, Gale as well as the Poison Sting attack, but it's still enough in order to get so much damage. He went for ultimate at 10 and 11, and that's pretty huge. Nature's Prophet going to continuously go for these cost-effective items now into the Maelstrom, and into the Roshan pit they go. Night Stalker does not have any sustain in the form of lifesteal, but I think they can still take this if they're tanking with Treants pretty effectively. Although it's not the fastest Roshan, it's enough.
Yeah, the Plague Wards now starting to set up, and with the Ravage down for another minute, if Invasion do catch wind of this, it is most likely just going to be an easy win for first departure, given that it is still nighttime. Night Stalker is going to be quite a long time until he gets his level 2 ultimate, which is a pretty crucial level for the Night Stalker so that he could be effective for more time, but Roshan is going to die, and this most likely is going to be Aegis for the Night Stalker, and it is. Everyone's going to bail, and everyone is going to get out just fine, although Trinket's going to run into a massive enemy hero. He's going to get Gush, lift up into the air as well. Won't get thrown up onto the cliff, but he's still taking a lot of damage. Rubik stole Night Darkness. That's a terrible skill to steal. Never ever cast that, guys. Trinket's now going to go for FCFC. Ultimate from the Ancient Apparition. Going to come in with the Death Ward onto FC. He's going to get burned down very quickly. Now onto Ghost. He's going to hit with the Void, and he's going to go down as well. Overgrowth from ADTR will save him for a little bit of time. Is there any detection here? It looks like somehow they don't see him. There's no gem. There's no anything. So ADTR is going to live. No, there's a Sentry. He walks right back into it from the mid lane. They get another kill onto the Treant. That's going to be a 4-for-0 exchange, and Trinkets doesn't even use his Aegis. That's going to be his Aghanims completed, and probably a tier 2 tower.
Probably. That fight went a lot better than I thought it would for first departure. They couldn't kill the Night Stalker. I'm not sure how, but just too much sustain. Come for the Witch Doctor, I suppose. They just walked into everything, and now this tier 2 tower is probably just going to be slowly sieged down. With the Venomous Wards, as well as the Treants, this is pretty much just forfeit. They have a Ravage, and they might be able to jump in, but Trinkets, he has an Aegis, and he doesn't care. Yeah, Rubik, he got the worst spell in the game to steals. They pull back in Trinkets. Trinkets might fall here. The Gale is going to land in the Shadow Fiend. There's Doom onto Chaos, but he gets off his Gale first. Yeah, they will lose the Aegis on their Night Stalker, but now he's going to come back, and the cask is bouncing through. They won't be able to commit to this, but the tier 2 tower is still going to fall slowly but surely. Chaos, despite falling low, is going to be healed back up probably by the Witch Doctor, although they are pretty low on mana.
Well, day is about to break, and by the time the sun does shine, the Night Stalker will have already claimed the tier 2 tower. Actually, perfectly timed. Tower goes down, the day breaks, so a pretty nice secondary night first departure. Not as good as their first, but still, they take a 4-man wipe, they take Roshan. You can't really be upset with that result, as Night Stalker does have now a level 2 darkness, which is so much better than level 1 darkness. It reduces the cooldown, as well as increasing the duration. So Night Stalker is going to be very happy about this, and he's going to most likely just chill in the jungle until he is ready to fight, and that's going to happen at the very minimum 45 seconds. But it's going to be at the very maximum another nighttime phase. So once the nighttime rolls around again, FD, they're going to look to possibly breach the high ground. This is Invasion's time to make something happen, but again, I still feel like they're a little bit too damage light. They're so reliant on the Ravage in order to take this, and really the lack of damage is hurting them because Night Stalker went for such a heavy, tanky build. They can't kill him off unless they focus literally everything they have on him.
Yeah, the Shadow Fiend, despite having his BKB, he might survive throughout the fight, but he doesn't hit hard enough. He's hitting for about a 200 a pop, but that's not enough when you're talking about a Night Stalker that's sitting on 10 armor as well as 1700 HP thereabouts. It is pretty tanky, and even more when he trades over to his power treads. They're going to lose the tier 1 tower in mid. It is daytime, and they don't really want to fight this out, but with Mikasa pushing down bottom, as well as top lane naturally pushing in, they won't be able to go for any more, and first departure, they're okay with losing his tier 1 tower. They've already taken the first Roshan.
Yeah, and Miracle and Mikasa down on the bottom lane is going to force Invasion to play on their side of the map, and he has transitioned now, or starting to transition at the very least, away from the Mass Null Blade Mail build, which, again, this game is perfectly acceptable. I would say it is probably the correct item build to go for in this game. Now he's going to go for a little bit more vanilla items in the Maelstrom as well as the BKB. Wants to be able to teleport into the middle of everything and be able to soak up a Ravage if need be. So I like this item progression from Mikasa, and he will have the BKB by the time it's game time for first departure. Night Stalker does have his ultimate up, so he could potentially look for kills, but saving that for the second nighttime phase is going to be the preference for Night Stalker, as he just wants to get more farm and get a BKB of his own. Still, the Ravage is the most useful tool for Invasion, and if you could block that with a BKB, you're going to be sitting pretty no matter who is holding a BKB.
Yep, Night Stalker going to spend this day probably just farming up for the BKB, but once they have it, I think this Night Stalker has done enough in order to take convincing fights in the second nighttime. Teleport stolen by Rubik, a very useful spell for him. Can get some very deep wards with that one. Ancient Apparition Blast comes through as actually the Rubik gets destroyed by Mikasa. They're fighting up against Keswick, and now Death Ward is going to be cancelled by the Doom. He drops the ultimate, blows up the Witch Shark. Now Mikasa is going to fall, probably. Heals are coming up, but it's not going to be fast enough. The Venomancer is inbound as well. He gets off his ultimate. He's taking down heroes pretty effectively, but this fight, it's too spread out. The Ravage going to be solo on the Chaos. Chaos is going to fall one way or another. Here comes Trinkets. Trinkets is going to burst down FCFC, but he might die here. The gem is on the ground. Trinkets is not going to pick it up. He's just fighting up against Keswick, but Keswick is going to be cold feet down to the ground. The gem is not going to be picked up by anybody, or is it? Ghost has the gem, and he's going to lose it here pretty shortly. Despite not doing very much damage, the Night Stalker is doing enough. He'll be able to silence up the Tidehunter. No anchor smashes for you, and now the Void coming through. The Living Armor is going to delay things, but slowly but surely, Ghost, he's going to be shot by point blank Ancient Apparition Blast, and he's going to die, even though the Night Stalker is hitting like a kitten. I would have liked to see them go closer so they could pick up that gem, but gem secured by the Rubik. I'm not sure whose gem that actually is. I think both teams had one at one point. But currently it is Rubik sitting onto one.
Trinkets coming in and putting an end to Invasion's party. It looked like they were going to get those series of kills and then be out scot-free, but by the time those kills actually ended, because Venomancer was so tanky, he survived for so long with the Aghanims as well as the mech, it bought so much time for Trinkets to slowly walk his way over from the top lane and get into that fight. And then once there, Night Stalker just went ham. Still, Trinkets isn't actually getting any of these kills. Like, Doom was brought down by the Venomancer, Ancient Apparition, got the Shadow Fiend as well as Tide. So Night Stalker is actually pretty poor in comparison to where he really should be, fourth in the net worth, whereas with the amount of kill contributions he's had, you expect him to be first or at least near the top. He's still going to be a huge factor for first departure in this game, despite the fact that he isn't getting any of these kills. If he's always there in those fights, then it's so much more difficult for Invasion. Anchor Smash as well as Ravage still going to be nuisances for the Tidehunter, for the Night Stalker, but that's about it. As Keswick at the top lane is going to get clipped with a little bit of slow. Now Mikasa's there with the Sprout. Keswick's going to pop the BKB, but that's going to do next to nothing. He's going to blow up. Nature's Prophet getting yet another kill for himself. And is there darkness available? There isn't, but nighttime is just about to roll around. So Night Stalker is now going to be online once again, and it's going to be the last tier 2 tower, which is going to be their objective. Invasion, they should have a Ravage soon. In 30 seconds, they will. But I don't think that's good enough. Wrath of Nature, though, a fantastic skill to steal from Rubik, will help them in this defense.
Yeah, it definitely will. He's not going to pop it just yet, and this tier 2 tower is probably going to fall. Yeah, Night Stalker, he has the nighttime available, and now he's just going to run straight behind the tier 2 tower. Not a fear in the world. No BKB, but tier 2 tower is going to fall in their favor. I'm not sure why the Rubik actually didn't throw out the Nature's Prophet ultimate. Maybe just waiting for a high ground defense. I'm not sure if it's worth saving. We'll see. Nature's Prophet pushes down bottom lane. In the meantime, they're going to split up and just wait for the next time on the Nature's Prophet before they find a full 5-on-5 engagement. But Darkness coming up from cooldown yet again is going to extend this nighttime for the Night Stalker. And this is a scary time for Invasion. Invasion currently, if you look at their map vision, is very limited. They have 2 wards, one over by the Ancients and one over on their cliff, but it's not enough to really allow them to be comfortable. That Night Stalker could be anywhere on the map for them.
And if Night Stalker finds a gem, if he kills off the Rubik, or who has the gem right now, actually? Gem is on the Treant Protector. If he finds the Treant Protector and kills him off, then suddenly the Nature's Guise is completely useless, and with this unobstructed vision, he'll be able to clear out every single ward. I would like to see First Departure pick up perhaps another gem, although it might be on cooldown for them because the Witch Doctor did purchase the last one. So let's take a quick look at that. It is, yeah, still on cooldown, so no gem available from the First Departure side, so they should be looking to pick up the gem from Invasion. Still, though, Trinket's going to be working towards his BKB. Reaching the high ground is going to be the hardest part of this game for FD because Night Stalker, when he has a lot of room to run around, is a great hero, but when he's in these close quarters, when he's trying to breach high ground, that's when he's at its weakest. So he definitely needs a BKB before he actually goes for that. Roshan's going to come around, and I think by the time Roshan is up, they should have the BKB on Night Stalker. If they get both the BKB and the Roshan Aegis, then it should be a very easy high ground push, or a very easy attempt for a high ground push. Trinkets is going to be ungankable at this phase, unless he gets hit with an overgrowth, but that's a tall order. Now a double damage rune. Ooh, could be very nice for Trinkets. Although, he may have to make sure not to get too over-aggressive with this.
Yep, right now he's, I don't know, avoiding this Treant Protector, and Treant Protector's going to do a little bit of dewarding, so wise move of Trinkets not to hunt through there, but if he finds anybody out with this double damage rune, they're just going to be bopped to death. It's not going to be a very healthy life for them. Treant Protector is still invised up, and they don't have detection on the ground. Witch Doctor is holding a pair of sentries, but they're not available for him. Night Stalker does have his BKB, and yep, they are going to go Doom on a Nature's Prophet. It's not going to save the Doom, however. Ancient Apparition Blast is not going to land. Doom's going to survive. Everybody's going to survive. Nature's Prophet should not tick down to this.
Well, just Doom being pulled out, and now up on top lane, Keswick is going to hit with the Gale. There's no stun, though. Night Stalker a little bit too slow in coming in for the Void. Regardless, it is going to be Roshan spawning very, very shortly, and Trinkets now with the BKB completed. I like to see KS start to make his home around the middle lane so that he could keep constant tabs of that Roshan pit, but any way you slice it, it's going to be Roshan as the next objective for both teams, really. With the Tidehunter Ravage available, plus an ultimate, level 3 from the Shadow Fiend, it is very plausible that Invasion can take a nice fight in that Roshan pit, should they catch the First Departure side off guard, but with Mikasa just doing the split pushing and Night Stalker roaming around the map constantly, it's going to be very difficult for Evasion to find that opening to go into Roshan, because really First Departure can do it with everyone except for Nature's Prophet, and then have Nature's Prophet just be around the map doing Nature's Prophet things. So First Departure, they have complete map control, and they're able to call the shots, and the shot called that should be coming up next is Roshan, and well, they're going to go for a high ground push, really. Well, they're going to try to go for Keswick, force out the BKB, which will protect him from the Venomancer ultimate, though KS still with the mech and Aghanims is so tanky. That's the BKB force out. Mikasa going to dive deep into the enemy base. He gets teleportation stolen, which is nice if OK lives, but FC getting focused down as Trinkets now deep into the enemy base, has a lot of room to roam right now as OK going to get beaten down by this Night Stalker. The ultimate from the AA is going to come in, land onto Ghost. The damage will be enough to shatter him as Mikasa picks up a double kill. Now if Trinkets looking for more, he's going to sense Keswick with the Aghanim Scepter vision, and he will decide better of it. No BKB, he will turn around, but the top lane is pretty much in full breach because there are Treants everywhere as well as those Plague Wards. Kai going to start regenerating everyone up. Tidehunter forced to buy back in order to get a Ravage out, but will that be enough at this point? Shadow Fiend is alive, so they can make a defense of this, assuming they get a nice Overgrowth. Mikasa going to teleport out. Overgrowth might be committed. No, it will not be. Everyone from FD will get away after diving deep into the enemy base. They take down a tier 3. Not a huge deal, but still it's another bag of gold that they're going to collect, and now it's going to be Roshan.
What a peculiar last fight. I did not expect them to go that balls deep, but they did, and it worked out wonderfully for them. The Shadow Fiend started off that fight dropping his BKB for the Venomancer ultimate that ended up still ticking on him after the BKB charge, as it's not the longest, so it was a Venomancer ulti for the BKB, and that was the opening that they needed. Now, Aegis probably going the way towards the Night Stalker. This is scary, and honestly, the bigger carry is probably your Nature's Prophet, who's going to be hitting like a truck. He's having to part ways with some of his precious null talismans, but he's upgrading for a lot better items. Pretty much everything with components of those Mithril Hammers. He's going to Black King Bar, Mjolnir, as well as a Desolator now. His wave clear as well as tower pushing and just amplifying the damage coming out from them. Physical from Kai as well as from the Night Stalker is going to be ridiculous. And now Night Stalker with his map hacks vision for another couple of seconds will still keep on running. I think he'll be able to get off one more darkness for this nighttime, but the nighttime is wearing thin.
I think at this point you probably just want to save it for the next roll around, although he disagrees with me. He's going to commit this darkness. It is level 3, so that's a minute and then some where he's going to be running around doing whatever the hell he wants. He might run into the Shadow Fiend right now, although it looks like he's without his teammates. He ran a little bit too quick for them. This is going to be First Departure at a very awkward timing because they have the Aegis, so they want to go in and be fighting. However, the nighttime is only going to last for so long, and if day breaks in the middle of the fight, that could be disastrous for them, as Night Stalker is fairly useless at that point. I mean, Aghanim Scepter does pretty much nothing for him except for giving him a little bit of stat bonuses here and there, but they still have a little bit of an opening. If they get a pick off here, then they could very easily breach the high ground as Trinkets, well, thinking about going for the Shadow Fiend, but taking a little bit more damage than he would really be comfortable with taking. So, First Departure, I think they're going to have to be forced to wait until this next day roll. I would have loved to see Trinkets save the ultimate for the daytime phase, and then they'll have it when they actually want to go for a push, but well, they're going to still try to go for high ground. into Ravage as well as the Overgrowth, that's a little bit too risky, I think.
Yeah. I don't know, down in bottom, the Shadow Fiend casually man-fights up against the Nature's Prophet, drops down to about half and then bails. As Mikasa is hitting pretty darn hard, now knocking under the tier 3 tower in bottom, while the team is up top, they're just getting their attention split. The Shadow Fiend is not very relevant. BKB on Mikasa, there's nothing a Shadow Fiend can do. It's just too much. The top barracks is probably going to fall since they're committing a lot to try to focus down Mikasa, and their attention, they're not committing to either of these lanes, and I think they're going to lose at least one. There's a Tide Hunter up top, but he's silenced up. Nature's Prophet is going to die, but buyback into this game, and TP is going to be available for this fight deep into enemy lines. He's going to go, and they're just going to take this melee barracks. Buyback from Mikasa, forced out, but still worth it, and they're going to be able to get these double racks, I think. It's a little bit risky to stick around, but they'll be able to do it very easily. Now I think it's just straight up back off. Trinket's looking for it. He has nighttime in 12 seconds if he wants it with darkness, but he's not going to be able to use it. Gush going his way is very slow, but now here comes the Venomancer. He's going to jump and his Gale onto everybody. The Shadow Fiend ultimate is going to be pretty huge, but so is the Death Ward bouncing to everybody, and with the Ancient Apparition Blast on them, there is no way they're surviving. That's going to be an Ultra Kill. Mikasa Rampage as he picks off everybody, mostly with that Mjolnir damage, and that's going to be GG called out after the first lane of barracks. There was not enough left in Invasion's tank. What a last fight, and this Night Stalker just working wonders for first departure. Despite not having the flashiest kill score, it's going to set up so many kills for them. It doesn't do the hero justice for the impact he had this game.
Oh man, I don't know how the Nature's Prophet somehow got all those last hits, because the Venomancer ultimate was down, the Ancient Apparition Blast hit onto 3, and the Witch Doctor was channeling his ultimate, but somehow Nature's Prophet, Miracle, he was an instrumental part in First Departure's victory, so it's only fitting that he end in a Rampage. I think Trinkets, though, you said it, like, his kill score does not indicate how much he actually did for the team. The Venomancer has a much better, more flashy kill score, but really I would say Night Stalker and Nature's Prophet making that game for First Departure. But that is going to be the end of this series, guys, and it's going to end in First Departure taking the series 2-0 over Invasion. Invasion are going to continue to play, though. I have to bail for the first game. Grandis should continue on with it, so good luck in the solo cast, man.
Yeah, no problem. Invasion is going to be facing up against Kingdom very shortly. The lobby's actually already up, so there's going to be very little delay between these games. So don't go anywhere. If you want to watch some more Southeast Asian Dota, this is the place to do it. If you want to follow us a little bit more in depth, you can check us out on Twitter and Facebook at HeflaTV. But enough about that. We're going to have some more Dota coming up shortly, so stay tuned.